Hello and welcome to another episode of Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzie and I'm your host for today's show. So today I'll be reviewing the group stages of Euro 2020. So it's been almost 2 weeks of football that we've thoroughly enjoyed. Well, I certainly have. Some exciting games, some games that probably didn't live up to their expectations, but nevertheless, it's been a great tournament in my opinion. So a lot to speak about as I'll do a proper roundup of what's happened and the main talking points so far in the tournament. So we can begin with the opening game, which was Turkey against Italy. So great start to the tournament. At least there were some goals, as normally whenever there's a opening game in the tournament, it does take a bit of time for the teams to score some goals or get adjusted to the climate as well. So great start for Italy, who for me definitely put their step and put their foot down in terms of being one of the contenders for the tournaments. If you watched my previous episode where I did the preview, I did say Italy are definitely one of the dark horses, and I feel like they have so much quality in their team. They've been undefeated in the last 3 years, so definitely a team to watch out for. And I think it has been proven throughout the competition so far. So great start to the tournament there. The second game that I'd like to speak about is Denmark against Finland. So unfortunately, there was a tragic moment within the game when Christian Eriksen collapsed on the floor. I believe it was a heart attack of some sort and had to be hospitalized afterwards. So thankfully, he's healthy right now. He's in good, stable condition. So that was the main sort of concern during the game, as it was just so unexpected in terms of what happened. But I have to give credit to the players, especially the Danish players, who circled around him whilst he was getting treatment. And to be honest with you, shame on the broadcasters, including BBC, who were trying to get some sort of footage whilst he was getting treatment. That wasn't the time to kind of show the viewers what's happening. It could have been where they went back to the studio and just spoke about the game or what's happening, or giving the spectators or the fans an update rather than showing what's happening to Eriksen on the pitch. You know, he's got family there in the stadium. Everyone's in a shock, especially the players within the pitch and also the fans as well in the stadium. So, yeah, it's not only just the BBC. A lot of broadcasters were trying to do that. So, not what we like to see. Bit of morals and respect should be done in that situation. And I have to say, UEFA should be ashamed to kind of force Denmark to continue that match, because it was revealed afterwards that they didn't really have much choice but to actually play the game. So it was either lose points or pretty much not continue. So you could tell when the match was restarted, the players' heads weren't really into it at all, and they just weren't with it whatsoever. So a shame in that regards that the match had to continue. If there was some sort of COVID result, because it has been said previously that if there's any positive tests, matches can be postponed for 48 hours. So in this situation, I don't think the Danish players should have been asked to continue that game. So yeah, not a positive from UEFA there, but nonetheless, we can continue to speak on the next game. So Belgium and Russia. So fantastic result for Belgium. Great start. Meunier on the score sheet and Lukaku scoring 2 goals, who for me, as I predicted, is prime goal scorer at the minute and could be winning the Golden Boot as the tournament goes on. But the game itself was a good game. But one thing I'd like to briefly speak about is actually what happened before the game. So the Russian players actually refused to take a knee before the game. So everyone's more or less doing it now to spread the word in terms of equality and fighting racism out of the game, but not only in the game, but in society as well. You know, football brings people together. So this is a great platform to kind of showcase that to the world. And for the Russian team to refuse to take the knee is just not a good representation of the country. For me, it's a shameful thing that they did. But each to their own. I guess everyone else will have their opinion regarding that. But for me, that's not a good way to start a tournament. It's not a good way to show representation for your nation. Because I'm sure everyone in Russia is not against sort of racism in that aspect. So that was quite a disappointing thing to see. I've just got a comment here from Mental Health Guy, off topic. Thoughts on away goals being scrapped? I actually think it's a good idea. I think it'll probably add more of a knockout feel a bit more if it's strictly 2 legs and you kind of see who scores the most goals. So it might have a different kind of feel. For me, it's a good idea. It's a different concept that probably should have been done a long time ago. I'm for it. I know there's been mixed opinions about it. Some people just don't like change, so it's not for them. But there have been ties in the past where teams have lost because on away goals, and it's just a bit, on the extreme side there, where it's like unfortunate that they had to lose on away goals. So having a bit more of a clearer picture where the team that scored the most goals goes through will be a bit more of a evident feel in that regard. So I'm for it. Let's see how that pans out going forward. So on to my next match, England versus Croatia. So yeah, after this game, I'm sure a lot of fans were saying it's coming home. I certainly it wasn't one of them, but I have to say I was very pleased for Calvin Phillips in terms of how he performed, and he was the one that gave Raheem Sterling the assist for the winning goal. A player, if you've watched my previous episodes, a player I rate very, very highly. Fantastic player, great ability on the ball, and he's finally getting some accolades, which is good to see. Sterling with the winning goal as well, great finish, not an easy one to put away. I have to be honest, I'm not sure if anyone saw his post-match interview where he was questioned regarding if his selection was justified, and fair play to him, kept it so professional and just said, yeah, maybe I have. But you could tell from his reaction that, yeah, he was not impressed with that question. I think everyone has their kind of choice in terms of who they'd like to start for England, or what type of player you go for if you were to be a manager of a team. Sterling, to be fair, has been one of the star performers in the England team. He hasn't been amazing in terms of how he normally performs, but he's got the end product right now. He's scoring the goals, so his selection shouldn't have to be justified because he normally is a starter for England. So that was a bizarre question for him in regards to that, but fair play to him, kept it professional there. So yeah, definitely got media trained for that. But the next game was Netherlands and Ukraine. So this game was probably one of the most stand-up games for me, the most entertaining as well, full of goals. You just didn't expect Ukraine to come back. So Netherlands were 2-0 up and made it 2-2, close to like 10 minutes remaining in the game. And Dumfries scored the winning goal for Netherlands. But credit to Ukraine, they played really well. Sort of surprised me in terms of how well they played. Netherlands looked a bit shaky. I think the absence of De Ligt was quite evident in terms of how they were playing. But regardless, played some good football. Gini, for me, was one of the stand-up players. It hurts to say that because as a Liverpool fan, I still don't believe he's not a Liverpool player. And it's a mistake that the club will definitely feel in years to come. You should have given him a contract, but that's another topic for another episode there. The next game, not a lot to speak about in regards to goals. It was a goalless game. But for me, there was a standout player who I mentioned in my previous episode is Isaac, the star striker for Sweden. A young player, so not a lot of people would have been familiar with him beforehand, unless you watch La Liga, as he plays for Real Sociedad. And he definitely showed his glimpses of quality there. For a tall guy, he has amazing quick feet, great ability on the ball, great dribbler, and has a shot on him. Very unlucky not to score in this game, where his shot deflected onto a defender and then onto the post. Could have got the winner there, but nevertheless, I feel like he will be linked with a number of clubs as the tournament goes on, because he's definitely the player that everyone's talking about right now. So yeah, just watch out in terms of transfer rumors as time goes on. The next one for me, good game in general, but it was the goal from Schick, who scored from the halfway line. What an amazing goal! The curl that he shot when he shot was just unbelievable. It just didn't look like it was going to go inside the net, especially when you watch the replay afterwards. Fantastic goal, one of the best goals so far in the tournament. There has been some crackers, to be honest with you, but that was definitely one of the standout ones for me. And the group of death, Group F. So this one was the first match was Hungary against Portugal. So for me, Hungary played really, really well up to probably the 80th minute, where they defended really well. They were well organized, very compact, hard to break down. Fortunately, the scoreline was 3-0, which is a bit unfair on Hungary in terms of how they performed. Portugal managed to break them down, change the game with a penalty for Cristiano Ronaldo. I think that's what broke it up, and then he scored a second goal, which for me was a fantastic goal from him. So yeah, so great win for Portugal to begin the tournament. And then France and Germany. So France won 1-0. I'll be honest with you, I expected a bit more of a better game. It wasn't a bad game, but I think France and Germany, because they're the most sort of stand-up performers or stand-up teams in this tournament, just expected more of an attacking performance from both sides. But nevertheless, France got the win against the Germans. Hummels had a torrid time. Unfortunately, he was the one that gave away the own goal, and Mbappe was running rings around him throughout that game. So a game I'm sure he'd probably like to forget, as it wasn't one of his best days, to be honest with you. Slightly off topic in terms of football, everyone was moving bottles. So Cristiano Ronaldo, this became a sort of viral moment where he moved 2 Coke bottles. I think it's more to do in terms of health and lifestyle, because he's been quite evident in terms of saying that he doesn't like to drink fizzy drinks, and he portrays that onto his family, where his kid's not allowed to drink it either. So yeah, that became a viral moment, and to be fair, it was a big financial loss for Coca-Cola the next day. Reportedly lost $4 billion just from that moment alone. So pretty much shows you player power is evident in that regards. And then Pogba did it the following day, removing a Heineken bottle, but that was due to more religious reason, which is fair play to him. And I'd probably do the same if I was him in that shoes as well. The best moment for me out of all of because there was quite a few moving bottle incidents throughout the tournament. The best one for me was the Russian coach, Stanislav Cherchesov, who pretty much got 2 bottles, opened it up, and just drank the cold bottle. So yeah, some pretty good tech in terms of opening that bottle. But yeah, it's quite a funny sort of moment of the tournament. Probably a highlight for some people, to be honest with you. I just got a comment here from Mental Health Guy. Considering the circumstances, I thought Hungary had a good tournament. I would probably co-sign that as well. I think they had a fantastic tournament. Because it was the group of death, you kind of just didn't count Hungary as challenges in any shape or form. You not in no offense, you'd probably just expect them to roll over because the other teams are so superior. But they definitely gave a little fight, and credit to them. The Hungarian fans should be very proud in terms of how their team performed, because they challenged each team, and it wasn't an easy ride for any of the teams. They could have easily have qualified on the final day, which I'll speak about in a second. But fantastic and fully deserve any accolades that they receive, and the Hungarian fans should definitely be proud of their boys there. So we can go on to the next match after the whole bottle incidents is Turkey and Wales. So Turkey were a bit of a disappointment throughout the whole tournament, if I'm honest with you. A lot of people regarded them as dark horses. I certainly didn't, but I think because there's a few talented players in the team, people just expected a bit more from them. But what a win for Wales. This was a fantastic victory. Bale missed the penalty during the game, unfortunately, but the skill that he produced towards the end of the game for the second goal pretty much made up for it. So, fantastic win for Wales and thoroughly deserved, if I'm honest. And in the same group, Italy and Switzerland. So, Italy were just not messing about in this tournament. Another great win, another great performance. Star of the show for this match was definitely Locatelli, who scored 2 goals here. A player I mentioned in my previous episode as well, who's actually just been linked with a number of clubs now. So a couple of teams in the Premier League have been linked to him right now. If I was to sort of make a prediction for him, I can see him joining Juve. I think he's been touted to go there for quite a while now. And I think he'll suit their style of play. So let's see how the summer pans out for him. But in terms of the Euros, he's been performing really well and definitely deserves his place in the team. So, yeah, fantastic performance from Locatelli there, if you hadn't known him before. Now, this result definitely caused some sort of reaction from the England fans here. But let me just get straight to the point and credit Scotland in terms of how they performed. For me, they were amazing. Showed so much pride and energy in their performance, which is the total opposite of what England produced. So well done to Scotland. Fantastic point for them. Brilliant performance. I didn't expect Scotland to do so well. England were just lackluster in every department that you can think of. Just slow on the ball, no intensity in their play whatsoever, not stretching teams. This match for me was shouting for a player like Sancho to come on, but Southgate has some kind of agenda with Sancho. God knows what it is because he still hasn't played yet. Yeah, only he can answer that question because I have no idea why Sancho hasn't played any minutes whatsoever. But the unfortunate thing was that Harry Kane was more or less the scapegoat for the media, where they were putting the blame on him in terms of not producing the goals. But yes, he hasn't looked his best. So hasn't Lewandowski. So haven't Benzema at that point as well. So it's very typical of the English media to put a blame on someone in the team. That just the whole team just didn't perform. So you can't blame it on one player. They were just terrible. So you just have to give credit and put your hands up for Scotland, who produced a great performance and fully deserved their win there. So a bit harsh on Harry Kane, in my opinion, there. Doesn't need to be a scapegoat for that result there, but it is what it is, I guess. And then back to Group F, Hungary and France. Like I just mentioned earlier on, Hungary were just fantastic throughout this whole tournament, and this was one of their stand-up games, to be fair. France just couldn't break them down. Some would say France dropped the points, but for me, Hungary just performed really well. So they fully deserved it, and on merit, they deserved that point. Germany, the next game, this was one of the exciting games of the whole tournament. And for me, they were just simply amazing. 4-2 winners. I think a lot of people expected Portugal to win that game. But that game for me showed Germany that they mean business and not to rule them out at all, because I mentioned this in the previous episode as well, that not a lot of teams regarded Germany as one of the strong contenders to win the competition, but they still have so much quality in that squad. You can never rule out the Germans in any competition. So I think that was a nice little reminder for everyone that, look, we're still here. We're here to cause some damage as well. So that was a good victory for them in regards to their group. So this is sort of the crunch time where I'll just be reviewing the last fixtures that have taken place in the group stages. So Group A, the winners were Italy and Wales. So Italy beat Wales on the final day, pretty much with a second team, and even a second team of the Italians looked great. Switzerland cruised past Turkey. Turkey, like I mentioned earlier on, have been disappointing. Probably a lot of people expected more, but the attack just never really got going, to be fair. And defensively, they've had issues. So in general, they just haven't performed well at all. So Italy and Wales have gone through. I got this slightly wrong. I went for Italy and Switzerland to finish second, but nevertheless, pretty much close enough there. And then Group B, you've got Belgium and Denmark as the winners. So Denmark produced a fantastic performance with a 4-0 win, 4-1 win, sorry. Great goals from Damsgaard, who's a player that I mentioned in my previous episode as one for the future or one to watch. And yeah, you can probably see why I mentioned that. And Christensen scored a banger as well. So some nice goals for Denmark there. And it's just nice that they have gone through as well with the tragic moment that took place earlier in the tournament with Christian Eriksen. It's just a nice moment for the Danish fans and the players as well. Belgium won comfortably with 2-0 win against Finland. So Belgium and Denmark go through pretty much as I predicted in my preview show as well. Group C, so Netherlands and Austria are through as winners. So impressive victory by Netherlands, 3-0 with Genie scoring 2. It still hurts that he's not a Liverpool player, but let's move on before I start going into detail about Genie there. Austria beat Ukraine 1-0. So I believe I predicted this as well. So Netherlands and Austria as the group winners. Then you've got Group D. So England scraped through a 1-0 victory against Czech Republic. Not a very impressive performance, in all honesty, but they haven't conceded, which probably was one of the main talking points, as Maguire hasn't been fit to play, and with the whole 4 right-back selections and all that sort of stuff. So I guess Southgate will probably give himself a pat on the back regards to that. But for me, attacking-wise, they've been awful. If you look at the squad, they have an abundance of quality in there. So a lot of players haven't played much. Grealish, one of them. Sancho hasn't laid a foot on the pitch whatsoever. Rashford hasn't had much game time as well. So a lot of players that could actually be helping England score a lot more goals and just be more of an attacking threat. But I believe that's just the tactics of Gareth Southgate. He's a very cautious manager. For me, I don't buy into his philosophy in terms of how he plays, but you know, it is what it is. I guess it's a result game. So if England were to progress and do well, you know, he'd probably keep a lot of people quiet in that regard. So, but we'll see how that goes on for England. But nevertheless, Croatia beat Scotland 3-1 on the final day. Lovely goal from Modric outside of the foot, and that puts Croatia through as well. So England, Croatia go through. And then you have Group E. So Group E, we have Sweden and Spain, I believe. So fantastic win for Spain, who scored 5 goals against Slovakia, which was fantastic. So yeah, that definitely came out of the blue because Spain have performed quite well, but I feel like for me, Thiago hasn't played, so that's been quite a disappointment personally. But I just feel like, I don't know, I think every manager has their favourites in their team. So I'd like to see Gerard Moreno play a bit more, as I feel like he's more of a focal point, has more pace about him, and can finish quite well as well. Morata, for me, is just not that top-level striker, in my opinion. Has good ability and has good moments, but he's a player that heavily relies on confidence. So if he has one missed shot, you can tell that just ruins his whole game throughout. And I don't feel like he can handle that pressure as well, playing in international football. So, but nevertheless, he's doing a good job for them. Sweden beat Poland 3-2. So this game had plenty of goals as well. And yeah, this was definitely a surprise in regards to the winners. So Sweden topped the group. So congrats to Sweden. Slightly unexpected. I predicted them to be runners up, but fully deserved, to be fair. So Sweden and Spain, as I predicted, go through. And now Group F. So Group F was a bit of a roller coaster because there were moments in the game where people thought it was France and Hungary or France and Germany, France, Portugal. It was just so many different positions to know who was going to actually go through. But in the end, it was Germany and France that went through. So France topped the group and Germany came second. Yeah, so in the end, it was a roller coaster ending to the group. But for me, the two best teams did go through, so credit to them. But that doesn't rule out a few other teams. So there were 4 best third position teams that also went through. So that's Switzerland, Ukraine, Czech Republic, and Portugal. So we get to see Portugal through because they're still one of the contenders in my opinion. So let's quickly do a match preview of the last 16, and I'll give you my predictions in terms of how I see that panning out. So the first fixture is Wales and Denmark. So Wales for me showed some great moments in the group stage matches. I feel like Denmark have been growing confidence, especially the last win where they won 4-1. I'm going for Denmark. I think Denmark will win this tie. I feel like they're showing a little bit more, probably have a lot more pride in terms of winning it for Christian Eriksen to go through. So I think they have a bit more quality in regards to winning that game. Then you've got Italy and Austria. I can't see Italy in it, so it's definitely Italy that will win and go through to the next round. Austria have performed well, but Italy will have too much quality for them. And then you've got Netherlands and Czech Republic. So Netherlands are looking strong as the tournament is going on as well. Some standout performers. For me, Gini Wijnaldum's been one of the standout performers in general throughout the tournament. You've got Memphis Depay, who's been playing really well recently as well. You've got players coming from the bench like Marlon, who had a great impression the other day, setting up Memphis Depay to score a goal. You've got Gravenberch, who's a great young midfielder in the team. Got Frankie de Jong, who's doing great as well in terms of keeping possession and spraying balls around. And they've got De Ligt and De Vrij as well as their centre-back pairing. So they look a little bit more solid in the central defence. Attacking-wise, for me, they're pretty much free-flowing in terms of how they're playing. So I'll have to go for Netherlands to win that game as well. Nah, this is a great match. This is the one I'm looking forward to. Belgium and Portugal. Very, very hard to call for me. I'm going to edge it and I'm going to say Portugal might just win it. I think they might have a bit more quality. One player for me that's really stood out for me for Portugal is Renato Sanchez, who I've been so surprised about. I haven't watched him that much last season in terms of playing for Lille. So my sort of perception of him have been from previous clubs like Bayern Munich, Benfica, Swansea. And yeah, I've been so impressed with him. Slightly off topic, but I went online yesterday and I said that I would love to see Renato Sanchez as a Gini Wijnaldum replacement for Liverpool. I feel like they're similar type of players, but he is a bit more athletic and would definitely fit in well in terms of how we play in midfield. So we have been linked with him as well. So fingers crossed, hopefully that's the type of player we sign in the summer. But yeah, in general, Portugal have been great. So Jota's performed well as well. You've got Paulinho, who really impressed me in the last game. Defensive midfielder, but can definitely thread a pass as well. Good on the ball in terms of tackling. Did a nutmeg on Pogba, I think, during the last game against France. So some good performance in that team there. Belgium as well. I think Lukaku monster of a player, but I don't know. I just feel like Portugal, because of the experience that they have of winning the tournament, I think they might just edge it in that regard. So yeah, I'll go for Portugal with my prediction there. Croatia and Spain. So two teams with good players in their squad. Um, Bit of a tricky one. I'd probably just edge it with Spain. I feel like Spain have more attackers. Even though Croatia, for me, Perisic has been fantastic. A player that I mentioned in the previous episode as well. Modric, the talisman in terms of how the team plays. So they have been impressive, but for me, Spain just have a bit more. So I'm going to go with Spain in regards to my prediction there. France and Switzerland. So Switzerland showed some good form, especially Shaqiri scoring a couple goals in the last fixture. But France have so much quality. I think it would be too much for Switzerland to mount any challenge whatsoever. So I'm going for France to be victorious in that match. Now, this is another big one. England versus Germany. I've been reading a lot of things and I've been seeing a few interviews on the TV regarding how the media or how certain pundits feel about this fixture. And they're quite confident they'll beat Germany. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't be so sure. I think Germany are so underrated this tournament. I don't know why. They have so much quality in their team, and they will cause damage to any team in this tournament. So, I'm from England, so England fans aren't going to like me to say this, but I think Germany will just edge it through. I think they'll have too much for England. I've just not been impressed with the way England have been playing, and that's simply down to the manager's tactics. So yes, I'm going to go for Germany there. And then the final one is Sweden and Ukraine. So Ukraine, very underrated team, play some really good football under Shevchenko. Sweden as well, for me, has some good player. I mentioned Isaac before, fantastic player. But you got Forsberg in the team who gets goals as well. So there's some talent in that team. I'm going to go for Sweden. I think they'll edge it and they'll be victorious in this tie as well. So that's my match prediction. We'll see how well that goes. Well, thank you for tuning in, guys. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Follow me on social media. So you can follow me at OzzieFTP on Instagram and Twitter. I'll be back hopefully next week with a new episode on Thursday, 1st of July at 10 p.m. UK time. So I will be reviewing all of the matches in the last 16. Let's see how well I do in terms of my prediction. And we can also preview the quarterfinals that will be taking place the following day. So as always, thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for your support. And I shall see you guys very soon. Take care.